Y'all ready to be history?
Get started.
Welcome.
Hi.
Hello, everyone.
To the Pro Audio Suite.
These guys are professional. They're motivated.
With Text the VO stars. George Whittam, founder of Source Elements. Robert Marshall, international audio engineer. Darren Robbo Robertson and global voice. Andrew Peters, thanks to Tribooth. Austrian Audio, making passion heard. Source Elements. George the Tech Whittam. And Robbo and AP's international demos. To find out more about us, check theproaudiosuite.com.
Line up, ladies!
Here we go.
And welcome to another Pro Audio Suite, thanks to Tribooth. Don't forget the code TRIPAP200 to get $200 off your Tribooth, and Austrian Audio, making passion heard. Now, George did catch up with Austrian Audio whilst at NAMM in California, and Robert was there also, of course, on the Source Elements stand. Mm-hmm. So you guys both have some stories to tell. Who wants to kick us off?
I'll kick it off, I guess, because I got, I was there as a content creator this year.
Ooh.
First time I saw a content creator badge. So it's kind of neat because I've been going long enough and showing up as media long enough and consistently that they actually now invite me for the first time. This is the first year where I got an email.
Did they let you go without paying them?
Yeah. This is the first time where I got an email months in advance expecting me to be there, asking me to, here's where you get your badge, et cetera. So I had my QR code. It was awesome. I parked, went right out of the elevator, scanned my badge, QR code. They printed me off a badge.
Wait, did they pay for your parking?
No, I paid for parking.
I was about to say.
Damn.
But yeah, and I was in. And what was the very first booth I wandered into? Straight from the hallway,
the
Austrian
AA
Audio.
booth.
It was perfect timing. Not only that, was it right there. I was going to sit down and do that interview that you guys saw on our Facebook feed.
Yep.
And they're like, we're doing a press conference in 10 minutes. Why don't you stick around for that? So it was just amazing timing. I was there for the press conference and was there for the announcement that DPA is now owner of Austrian Audio.
Yeah.
Which
Wow.
was a big, quite an announcement. We knew about it already because maybe it went through it. It was already public, but
Yeah.
still, it was quite amazing that is the case. So we're really curious to see what comes of that.
Did they, actually talking about that, I know we've gone through this about the DPA thing before, but did it seem like it was a really positive thing for Austrian Audio, do you think?
They seem to see, like when I talked to Bernard, right? Or Bernie?
Bernard?
Yeah, he seemed pretty, I talked to him like when we were just setting up that day because Freeman didn't give us our table for the whole fucking day, so
Day one kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I was just like chatting with him for a while, and he seemed very stoked about it, like honored and like good company, and yeah, he didn't seem to have any like.
No, the PR around it, of course, was very positive. I mean, that's obvious, right? But the thing that I noticed and the thing that they called out clearly in the press conference, which will be up on my one of our YouTube channels at some point, I'll throw it up, is that the two product lines do not directly overlap each other. Mm-hmm. There is very minimal overlapping of products. For example, when Rode bought Mackie, they both make a podcaster mixer. I mean, they're literally directly in competition with each other, and now they are both under one roof. And that, I have no idea what's going to happen after that, right? But in this case, there's so little overlap, and anything that does overlap, I would say the price points are different.
I don't think DPA had one large diaphragm mic in their entire lineup.
No. They mentioned that they had done one, but it clearly was not.
And then Austrian Audio had one small diaphragm mic in their entire lineup, which is basically what Andrew's on right now.
Yeah, the CC8.
Yeah, so there's totally no overlap. I don't think DPA has any multi-pattern mics in their entire lineup.
I don't believe they do either.
Yeah,
in fact, one thing one gentleman told me, and I don't recall at this point whether this was on camera or off, I think it was off camera, was that they're looking forward to the fact that Austrian Audio has a team of software engineers that do the software controls for their products. They also have the firmware development stuff that DPA doesn't have. So they weren't just acquiring a product line; they were acquiring engineers, in this process. And DPA was definitely really excited about that. So I don't see how it could any way be a negative. We just want to make sure that both companies thrive into the future because they're both. DPA is a brand that is sponsoring. and keep sponsoring and sending us really cool stuff.
That's
and we
right.
just hope that that's part of the future. We hope that it's in no way means that DPA wants to replace Austrian's product line. It's just that's not happening. Yeah. And they also asked if the brands would remain independent. That also is true. So Austrian Audio as a brand will remain Austrian Audio as a brand, which is very smart because those guys have spent
They've spent a lot of time building that
10
brand
years
name.
building that brand name.
Has it been 10 years?
I don't know, 6, at least 5 or 6.
It would be, let me think. It was, I met Martin when he came here, and that was just when COVID kicked off. So what's that, 2020?
Like five years.
So there was like
5 years feels
plus
like
another
10
2
years.
before that. So you've got probably about 7 years, maybe.
Yeah.
Which is not a long time, really.
And that company clearly was in existence, not publicly, for quite a while before that. You have to imagine that they were, all that was happening. So let's call it 8 years. But so I think it's all going to be good things for them. So while we were there, we got to see the press conference. And if you've already seen our Facebook, then you've seen a video where we got to see a demonstration of the new OC S10.
Which is on our YouTube channel as well, by the way.
Yeah,
it is on the YouTube channel, and you'll notice the not so subtle backdrop image that they use.
Yes,
it is the hand of God reaching for the OC S10. It's a bit bold in terms of PR.
I like it.
Wow,
I like it,
but it's bold. But you'll see if you see the video, you'll see why the mic is cool. It's
just like a diaphragm floating in the middle of like a huge open, unobstructed basket.
Exactly. That's what they said OC stands for, is open capsule. That is what OC stands for. And so this is even more open. They made a very large basket around the capsule. The capsule's very exposed. So this is not a mic with an internal pop filter, right? This is a very open, very clean microphone. It's sort of like, it's a flagship mic. It's clearly priced in the ballpark of the Neumann U87. Obviously, this mic is going to.
But honestly, I thought the 818 was like right there with the 87 and cleaner.
Yeah, I've been calling this the U87 killer for a while, but that's what everybody says. So, but I really think the OC 818 is. I mean, I can't imagine why you'd want a U87 when you have an OC 818.
It does everything and then more, and it's cleaner. And
the only reason that you do is because you're recording, you're an engineer or you're a studio owner, and you have to have certain mics in the quiver because that's what the production asks
that's what
for.
the client expects.
I just ran that in. I just ran with that today, like where it was like a well-known show, and I was helping them set up another like really small studio. So they just ended up in that situation where the talent is in like some tiny little town. They found the one studio. And they're like, what do you got? And I just heard the whole conversation. I was like, I got this, that, and the other thing. The guy had okay mics, like 87. That one.
That's the one.
Yeah.
That was it. Like ended conversation.
Yeah. I mean, all the time people ask me what mic should I get, and I go, well, if you're buying microphones for brand recognition only, because that is what you feel is important as a voice actor, that you must have a certain brand and model because that's what they're looking for. If you feel like it's going to hurt you, fine. You should have a TLM 103, or if you have the scratch, a U87. But that is not the reason to buy a mic at all. It's just these mics, Neumann, and they absolutely earn this, right? They've been at the forefront of condenser mic popularization, and
practically were the second, like RCA and Neumann were the first to make condenser microphones.
They have a huge head start on everybody, Telefunk and Neumann. And so they deserve it. But, many, many years have passed, and there's revolution and evolution and brands coming and going. And, there's a lot of room for innovation out there. Neumann is keeping it kind of old school. I mean, they're branching out by coming out with their own audio interface, which really was not really their own audio interface. Is actually a rebadged version of another brand audio interface.
Here, just mute that and tell me who it was.
Oh crap, man! I knew you were going to ask me who it was. Okay.
Oh no! I'm thinking of Neve.
Oh yeah.
So Neve comes out with like
the 88R or the
just
88R.
bleedingly expensive, like
2-channel. They came out with the $1,200 Scarlett 2i too.
Yeah, exactly. Like
that's what Neve came out with. By the way.
and then Neumann comes out with like the next closest thing to a Apollo, basically, from built by another company.
Speaking of Neve, I did see all of the booths that you're probably thinking of. I saw Neve. I saw the Neve booth. What's the AMS Neve? Is that what it's called?
Yes,
I saw the
Neve,
AMS Neve booth, and I saw the Rupert Neve booth. And if you're not keeping score, there are 2 Neve brands, which is a crazy thing.
Well, Focusrite is technically a Neve brand.
Correct.
Well, yeah.
Neve,
but
Rupert started Focusrite.
Well, he started Focusrite, right? He's under it doesn't have the name
and then
title,
could you consider Amic a Neve brand? Kind of. Not really.
Interesting. Because that's also one of his designs?
Well, when he left Neve, he then went to Amic.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that.
Rupert has his fingerprint on almost every circuit at this point.
Yeah,
it's either Rupert or maybe it's Telex or not. Sorry, Telex.
Universal Audio.
Yeah, they're kind of the American Neve. Can I say that?
Yeah, you can say that. I think. Oh, yeah. I mean,
kind of.
Well, Ward Beck is the Canadian Neve. They sometimes call Neotech the American Neve, but it definitely isn't.
Okay.
I mean, it is and it isn't, but it's like, but UA is more like in that heritage of true, like, like the 40s, 50s, like the burgeoning of the whole audio industry. They were there.
I didn't have the time to focus in on those high-end, boutique makers, but I did see Neve had an 88 series compressor. Mm-hmm. So it was like it was supposed to be the mate to the 88. What is it called? The 88C is the USB audio interface that they make.
I don't know. You can look it up, but yeah.
And they have a compressor now. It's the same form factor. It would stack
like a third of a rack space.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit like a chunky third.
Yeah,
let's call it a chunky third of a rack space
with the big giant Neve knob with the wings on it.
You didn't have time to go over and say hi to Jonathan Little, probably, huh?
No, I've like how
there's this guy I've seen at NAMM since the aughts, and that's 2008 for you and me, kids. And
I thought that was the 90s, but yeah.
Since the aughts, and his name's Jonathan Little, and his company's called Little Labs, and I love his.
He's got all kinds of
vibe,
cool tools.
He's a cool dude, and he makes really cool circuits. And you've never talked to anybody who makes equipment who's more enthusiastic about his circuits, like the way he talks about them.
Except for maybe John Hardy.
Yeah, maybe John Hardy, but I don't know. Is John Hardy making new stuff?
No, he just makes the same preamp for the last 40 years, and he can talk about it for 40 years.
Right, but Jonathan is making new stuff. Like almost every year, he's got something new. Maybe every 2 years, Jonathan has something new, and he talks about that circuit design. And even if you don't understand really what he's saying, and honestly, I don't really understand a lot of what he's saying because I don't know circuit design. But it sounds amazing, and the way he describes it, it makes you want to use that thing.
But it's also not just circuit design. He comes up with cool, no one else has it products. Like I was telling you how when I was in physics class, when I was in college, I went to my teacher and I said, how do you make a circuit that will just rotate the phase of a signal? And
not just flip it out of phase,
just
like 180.
Continuously rotate
the phase.
Right.
Yeah.
And my genius teacher is just like, oh yeah, this, that, and the other thing, and you can't do it with one knob. You can do it the first 180 with one knob, the second 180 with the other knob, and then like 2 years later, you're flipping through Mix Magazine, and Little Labs has a like Phase Mistress or whatever the name of his product
the names are clever too.
Yeah,
he has a VOG box. It's called the Voice of God.
Right. Yep. Like a low frequency resonance thing.
Yeah.
And he's got this matrix thing for guitar players so they can hook up all their pedals and then just by pushing buttons change the order of how they're connected. Yep. Like just cool, no one else has it stuff.
Yeah. He has a sweet headphone amp called the Monitor because it lets you some different sets of mono signals, like some both inputs to your left ear, both inputs to the right ear. I mean, every single way of summing things is a mode on the Monitor headphone amp, right? Mm-hmm. And it's an ultra clean headphone amp.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was cool. I saw my friends from Grace Design, Evan and
They have
Michael.
a new audio interface?
A new audio interface. They finally launched their multi-channel rack-mounted audio interface, the serious one that you put in a studio that lets you plug every single signal into
and it's got a low latency DSP mixer in it, right?
It does, has a monitor matrix or monitor mixer that does up to 8 outputs, so you can create eight headphone mixes.
Wow.
And it's a 2 rack space, 64 in, 64 out,
and it's $64,000.
No, what did he say? I think he threw me a number, and it was high as you would expect.
It's not
but
going to be cheap.
the thing is, it's modular, so you buy it.
62,000, I think it was, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
You buy
Canadian.
you can buy it like almost empty with like one card, but you can load it up with cards, and you can choose whatever I/O you want. You can have a mix of AES and analog. It'll plug into a DigiDesign rig. It'll plug into Matty. It'll plug into Dante. Whatever.
Yeah.
It does all
So
that
let me ask you.
stuff.
Let me ask you a question. Was there anything there that competes with this?
Of course not. Yeah.
And I showed the PASport VO to numerous vendors because, first of all, I did show it to Michael Grace from Grace Design. He does all their hardware design. And I was saying earlier how software, when we were talking about DPA and how they were happy to get, he said the reason we could make the 107 was we finally had a great software team because the 107 is running a web server on board. And so every single thing you see on laptop or tablet or whatever.
So they're doing it like Motu, where you can just go to a URL and talk to it.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Everything's on board. So he said we couldn't have done that without the software team we have here. And so I showed this to Michael Grace, and he gave it high praises. I mean, obviously he's not been able to use it, but having a guy who designs hardware for the last 35 years give our design and our physical product praise was really pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But I showed it to a lot of other companies that don't compete in any way, obviously. Lots of mic companies, right? I mean, it was really fun showing it to all these different microphone vendors and saying, this thing is the next best thing in broadcast and podcasting, and people are going to want to have this to use with your microphone. So imagine next year at NAMM show, a number of these microphone booths have passports at their booths.
Wow.
Oh, that'd be nice. That would be good.
So you were saying you've spoken to a couple of microphone guys. I guess encompassing all of them, if you could sum up their thoughts in a few sentences, were they like, wow, or just like, oh yeah, that's a good idea, or were they sort of like, meh?
I didn't get any meh. I got mostly, oh, cool, that's really nicely made.
Yeah.
I didn't get any big wows.
No one got it that like this thing routes like no other product.
At least 2 people got the routing as a cool thing. It's
like,
very, I got to tell you, at the show, the saturation point is very high, and explaining and showing something new, at their booth when they're there to sell their product to other, it's hard. You're not really going to connect.
Yeah, you're not concentrating
very well with people.
Yeah, of course.
Especially since I didn't have it like plugged into a computer, with a mic plugged into it, the whole demo thing. I'm freaking briefcasing at NAMM. What can I do, right? It's the best I could. But I got some very nice positive feedback, and to say that this thing could be an ideal booth companion.
He missed an opportunity by not having one at our booth as well.
Yeah. Well,
because we're sitting there playing through a UA Apollo.
Yeah.
Well,
we're gonna have one up and running for sure at VO Atlanta, probably, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if there's ever a show to take it to, it'd be VO Atlanta.
Well, VO Atlanta and NAB.
Yeah.
There you go.
Are you guys at NAB?
Hell yeah, we are.
Oh yeah, you're back. You're back this year. NAB, absolutely a no-brainer for the PASport VO. I did show it to people that were more broadcast related, because again, NAMM is music, and they seem to get it even more so.
The question is, do podcast people look at broadcast stuff as like too complicated? Like, oh, that's over my head. And
or too expensive. I don't know about the price point thing, because there's some seriously big dollar podcast production going on.
Yeah,
there is
big money. So it's not a price point thing. I showed it to several people at PodFest. When I told them the price point, nobody said oof. Nobody reacted to the price like that.
It's two interfaces in one. Come on.
They all were like, oh, okay, that's not bad. One guy thought it was worth a lot more than that when I told him what it was. So,
dude, it's $300 an interface. It's 2 of them. And it's a gold digger.
Yeah, it's a gold digger switcher.
Yeah. It's like...
That was cool. I think that got the most reaction was when I was trying to explain all the things that it does.
It is not stereo.
Showing the mic switcher and showing that it's a switcher, a single button switcher. That got a few eyebrows because nobody's doing that.
Yeah,
Nobody's doing it.
And it can still do stereo if you need it to.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there was so much I didn't get to talk to and engage with because there's so much in this hall.
Yeah, I bet.
This is like AES times 3.
The other thing that was in this hall times 3 was 3 stupid AI voice companies, including, do you know who's doing AI voices now?
Oh, God, don't tell me.
The ones that do your Sound ID and flatten out your room.
Oh, yes, Sound ID.
Sonic.
The company that does room calibration.
They do room. Yeah, what does room calibration have to do with freaking AI voices? Sound. I'm glad I'm forgetting it now.
Yeah, screw them.
Exactly.
Screw them because they're doing voice. Now, I will say this. This is music related mostly.
No, it's not though.
Oh, was it?
Because all you do is you just give it anything you want and you just start flipping through voices that you want.
Oh, okay.
And it'll just sing and it will talk, whatever you
Sing,
give
talk,
it.
it doesn't matter.
You
just tell what
mimics what your crappy voice switches out. I mean, it was like, now I'm a little girl. Now I'm a guy. Now I'm like, it's just like, come on. And it was cheap too.
Yeah, that's what's scary.
It's true. Yeah. It's true. Also, I saw Roswell Audio because I always come and see Roswell, the fellow that owns it, Matthew McGuinn.
He's like Mike Parts, isn't he?
Yeah, he was Mike Parts originally, and now he's making he fleshed out product, and his little K87 is a pretty damn good sounding. It's a
U87, right?
It's intended. That's literally 87's in the model name. I mean, obviously he's not trying to pull a punch there. He's got a K47 and a K67 as well. This was another thing. Customizing microphone,
that's pretty cool.
Custom shops for microphones where you can get any kinds of.
Can you just get it wrapped instead of painted?
Probably. Singers have been doing that with handheld wirelesses for years, wrapping them in like gold plated and like sequins and lace. Yeah. I saw Studio Float. This is a company that does studio design.
I've looked at these little isolators for the ceiling and the walls.
Mm-hmm. Talked to this gentleman for a while. This from the Studio Float company.
Crazy how expensive those things are.
Yeah, they're way overpriced.
They're like $6 each or something.
They're really expensive. I also stopped by Odyssey headphones. Known for making disgustingly expensive.
I was going to say more really expensive stuff.
Planar headphones, but they make a $300 gamer headset. That's a planar headphone, and tried it on, and it was pretty freaking cool because it has head tracking. So as you move your head, the sound, the mix, stays maintained, centered. Yeah.
Sony had a crap load of a really big booth. Actually, Sony came in strong.
I didn't even see their booth. I didn't even make it to their booth.
I mean, well,
were they in the same hall?
Did. They were the wall in front of us.
Oh, that was Sony's booth. They were so big that
they had like a huge Atmos setup with a stadium practically for sitting there.
Yeah.
There's massive amounts of headphones. Their microphone that like goes from like 0 to 50,000 K.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was.
I skipped Sony. I don't know. Sometimes I like to focus on the smaller vendors. I just mostly do. Shep's had the best set of mics. It was called the Desert Island Stereo Set. Yeah. These things were like those really small, very small body, interchangeable head mics. Yeah. So they have a whole range of capsules. Whenever you see an opera or you see an award show, and there's a long, skinny stalk.
Yep.
Well, almost like the one that the Beatles up on up on the roof.
I think we worked out that was the Beatles one at Abbey Road was AKG.
Oh, was it AKG?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But
Sheps
AKG.
is famous for like the super slender little, and that's very hard to do because it definitely increases the noise when you get the preamp so far away from the capsule. But they make the preamp like 5-6 feet away from the capsule.
Yeah, they also have this freaking crazy ORTF 3D microphone rig for stadiums. So this thing will get mounted. It doesn't have the basket around it with the dead cat, for wind and everything in this picture that you guys are looking at. But what was really cool was there's heating elements on all the capsules, so that keeps the condensed.
Can they fly that along with the camera that like goes zooming across? Like,
it's not meant for that. It's meant to be locked down and provide a 3D sound representation of what that entire room. Stadium sounds like. So it's doing not just a standard ORTF, but a 3D ORTF. So it's 4 sets of ORTF capsules.
ORTF in all 4 directions.
Yeah. it's freaking nuts. It's got to
it's
be
like
$20,000 mic rig.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But that's Sheps. They're always there. I tried.
Yeah,
out
I mean,
Focal.
Sheps is going to be like Sheps and DPA. That's sort of like the top of the hill.
Yeah.
Like-
I tried out $700 Focal headphones, and then I tried out probably $80,000 Focal monitors. That was fun. I stayed around until after they tell you to leave. And
so you could listen in
and
quiet.
so I just sat there and listened to these ginormous, probably soffit-mounted monitors from Focal.
Yeah.
And I got to say, the bigger ones sounded better than the inner ones, the smaller ones.
Different or better?
Better.
Like, because
these, and it could have been placement, but
they should have had better. They
the
should have
single
consistency.
woofer. Yeah, I know. The single woofer ones just sounded more thick and tubby in the low mid. I don't know why. It was weird.
Well, also, it only has one mid-frequency driver.
Right.
I mean, basically, just add a tweeter to the big ones, and you could just buy two of the small ones.
Right. Exactly. What else? What can we wrap this up with? I mean,
I saw there was one other thing. I don't know if you went to. I'm trying to screw up their name, but like Cranbourne or something.
I miss Cranbourne.
And they have, and they've had it for a while, but I've always thought it's a very good product idea, which is they have a 500 series rack with the USB audio interface built into it.
Oh yeah.
So if you want to have like a good interface, and then you want to just like pick your mic pre and have like, the world's choice of mic pre's, because you with 500 series, it's all there. That's I think a pretty cool product.
I saw the MV7 Shure MV7 Plus and the Shure MV7 I. The MV7i has an input jack on the back for another microphone. So it turns it into
they're kind of doing like the
mic
mic creator thing.
Yes, they're doing what the mic creator does from Austrian Audio.
Austrian Audio came up with that idea first, guys.
That's right, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure is copying it.
Innovators, not the imitators. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
They
Shure
sure
MV7 has a mic in now, and that's what they're doing. So they were celebrating 100 years.
Well,
So there was a lot, and I was dying to see Jacob Collier come by the booth at Shure, and I just didn't make it to that. Was there a commotion when that was happening?
I don't know. Like the Shure booth was actually one of the most active ones.
It was very active. They had a lot of people showing up at that booth. When you've got these musicians showing up at your booth, it's going to be a mob scene, and they know it. There's a huge amount of energy around these musicians.
By the way, everyone, Jacob Collier was using Source Connect during the pandemic.
oh, was he really? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, he like without any prodding from us, we caught him on some podcast talking about it. It was pretty cool.
Yay.
Anyway, a lot of fun. We wish you guys could be there in person. And now that NAMM has basically opened its doors to the public, you can. You can go
really?
to NAMM.
Well, you can buy a ticket.
You can buy a ticket to go to NAMM now. It did not used to be the case. You had to be an industry representative. You had to be a guest of a vendor.
What's funny is this, back when it was more exclusive, it was physically bigger.
That's true.
Oh,
the booths were much larger.
Yeah. I mean, like huge. Like Neumann would put up a $200,000 booth that was like the size of like two semi-trucks next to each other.
But here's the difference. Back in the day, retail owners, my dad's music store is no exception. This is the first time I went to NAMM was as a guest of my dad's Taylor's Music Store in Westchester. I went as a guest of Taylor's 20-something years ago. And that's why they went. They would go there, shop at Yamaha, do their orders.
Yeah.
And that was it. But that's almost
Do you know
dead.
what it reminds
That
me
doesn't
of? I used to do all the setup for the Ace Hardware show. And it was the same thing. I mean, these guys that owned it was exclusive for Ace Hardware store owners.
Yeah.
But they would go in there and they'd be like, all right, I'm going to order 50 lawnmowers and 600 leaf blowers. And I think I might need those. And there's just buyers, there's people, it's just crazy the amount of.
That's what NAMM was for. And so they had much bigger booths with offices and ISO rooms for meetings. And that's gone. Was Neumann even there? I don't think Neumann came to NAMM, did they?
AKG was there for sure.
But not Neumann. I didn't see Neumann.
Because actually, I can tell you this about AKG, just word to the wise. We had an AKG pair of headphones at the booth.
Which are nice, right?
Well, they are. They're very nice sounding and
comfortable.
Somehow, Vincent's and they were his headphones. I felt really bad. And he's like, oh, something's funny. And he takes them off and just like a hairline crack on the
headband.
And I'm like,
Plastic.
oh, man. Yeah, plastic. And I'm like, oh man, this looks like it can come off because it's like the headband.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, don't worry about it. Go over to AKG, they'll set you up. So he goes over there and they give him a pair to use. So we're fine for the booth. But then I start looking at it and I'm like, can't they just give you a headband? He's like, I don't know. He didn't say anything about repair.
Not repairable.
And I go, they're not fucking repairable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like crazy.
Yeah, not excusable. Well, I'll tell you, I did get to try the High X20s, which I'm dying to get a pair now. But I tried the High X20s from Austrian Audio, the headphones, and I compared it to they had the 15s, the 20s. They had the whole lineup, and they had them all. What was cool is each was plugged into an iPod. Not an iPhone, nothing. It was an actual Apple iPod. So they've had old iPods and they keep these things running.
Like someone's been saving old stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not the shuffle, but
there you go.
An iPod.
Why am I not surprised, Robert?
That's the one that you could clip to your jogging, to your shirt. But they had the iPods with the screen. That looked like the iPhone kind of, and they had all their headphones plugged in with the same playlist. So I had Hey 19 playing, Hey 19,
the Steely Dan,
and I had it playing on both sets of headphones, and I was just
you can hear the difference.
The other. At first blush, very similar, and that's what I liked. They were actually really similar, but when you listen more closely, the low end on the 20s was more full. It had a little more low end extension. And my ears didn't quite pick it up because it ain't what they used to, and it's a noisy place. But they tell me they have a better high-end extension too. So
that's the high X thing, right?
So you just get the 15 in terms of the price point, the weight, the build quality, but just a little better is what the 20s are. And I'm looking forward to getting those and using them as like my everyday, like keep them in my bag headphones.
Yeah.
Do they fold up?
They fold up and get flat. Yeah. And that's why I used to bring the ones that the ones that Robert's wearing. He's got my buyers on, the DT770s. They are not travel friendly. These things are chunky. They're chunky boys and they do not fold flat.
Yeah, they got like they are built solid. They got metal I can feel all over the place.
These things can take a licking. Yeah. But I also love my Audio Technicas, but they are fragile too.
Yeah, I mean, why don't people learn from the Fostex RP20s, where like every piece of those things you could just buy it, and fix it. It's like
they don't want to deal with it. And headphones are mass produced at such high margins. They make so much money on headphones. So anyway, anything to wrap up, NAMM?
The question is AES. I mean, AES not going to New York next, or it's not New York and now it's in California, but it's like such a huge overlap between NAMM and AES. It's like, why?
And it's a big overlap. They're only 3 months apart, right?
Yeah,
October
and for
January.
Who's going to spend? I mean, it's like $10,000 by the time you're done with people and hotel and foods and booth and everything, and it just doesn't make sense to go displaying at both of those.
I'll certainly be there just because it's in LA. I mean, I wouldn't miss it, but it's a game changer if you want. I mean, just everything I would want to see at AES, frankly, was at NAMM.
Exactly. The bottom floor was physically bigger, and everybody like I'll give you a good point. Shure goes to AES, and I swear to God, they were only in a 10 by 10. They go to NAMM, they got like a 20 by 20 island.
Yeah.
And they're all there.
Different level. Just a different level.
Yeah.
There's just so much more people, more energy at NAMM show.
Yeah.
Well, it's been fun. Thanks for letting us pontificate on what we saw.
Nothing like a good bit of pontification, really.
I know. I'd love a pontificate. Might go and have one.
Well, that was fun. Is it over?
The Pro Audio Suite, with thanks to TriBooth and Austrian Audio. Recorded using Source Connect. Edited by Andrew Peters and mixed by Robbo. Got your own audio issues? Just ask Robbo.com. With tech support from George the Tech Whittam. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and join in the conversation on our Facebook group. To leave a comment, suggest a topic, or just say g'day, drop us a note at our website, theproaudiosuite.com.